What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's TV review of the Apple TV Plus original series Murderbot Season 1. This will follow Episode 7, which is called Complementary Species, and is directed by Roseanne and Liang. Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen out there in the Murderbot world, it was another good episode. To be fairly honest, it was once again the third part of a 3-part episode, which should have been one episode, to be fairly honest, and that's what we're getting at this point, because once again it's on we're gonna say something and then we're just gonna go to black. Once again, it's an episode that really shows the chaotic nature of a tragic event. It once again shows us that everybody is not on board with what Murderbot is doing, but it's a segment of a series that really kind of gets to the heart and the enjoyment of what Murderbot can be when it takes itself not too seriously, when it tries to be goofy and action oriented. Because I feel like, and especially in the beginning of this episode, we have the crew on a different planet. We see them before they're going to go to this planet that they're currently on and they're going to take Murderbot with them and stuff like that. And we see kind of the nature of like them getting to know each other, or getting to kind of be comfortable with one another, and they go back and forth and they talk to one another and they tell stories. And then we get Garathian's story, and he talks about how he was there to spy on them, and like everything it went against his programming in a lot of respects. Even though he is a human, it went against like what he believes. And you can really tell that Mensa really means a lot to him, and that he cares for her a lot, which is kind of a sweet thing, but it's a very chaotic, weird thing when it comes to who Garathian is, because he's a guy that's very what we call analytical, and he is very by the book. So when things don't go right for him, when they force things into perspective for him, when it becomes chaotic and like unruly, I don't think he can handle it. And as we see throughout this entire episode, the fallout of killing Lebebe and what has happened to him, now he's like walking with a limp and stuff like that, and he's dealing with like all kinds of mental stress and all kinds of just like, he doesn't know what to do at this point. It's like the idea of like PTSD and stuff like that. Like, you don't know how to control it. You do your best, but things just don't work properly. And that's what this kind of episode is dealing with, is them trying to escape, them trying to not have to deal with the fact that Lebebe and her individuals are coming after him. A lot of this episode is just them going back and forth, trying to like decide on what to do, and they're flying away and they're escaping, and they have to get rid of all of the stuff that they've researched and like how it affects each individual. And I do appreciate that kind of stuff. I think it's interesting. I think once again it really has an interesting effect to what it is like when things truly go wrong. And I love the fact that Arata and Pin Lee have their kind of relationship, and there's like a love there, but then you have Roddy come into the mix and doing his like weird shtick and stuff like that. And he's like the very kind of I would say he's like the Millhouse of the group in a lot of respects. He's like awkward and kind of weird, and like he interjects himself in the weirdest places, and that's kind of what this episode is doing. And then once again, Murderbot is like questioning why he's helping these people, and like it's affecting his programming on what it is now for Murderbot itself. And once again, Alexander Skarsgård does a really fantastic job of just portraying a robot sentient being or whatever, and like the plight of like becoming I wouldn't say human, but becoming self-aware and becoming more of a human in a lot of I guess it is kind of like becoming a human, like a Pinocchio scenario, which really ironically Pinocchio feels a little like this feels a little inspired by Pinocchio, about how this robot wants to become kind of more human, and how it like looks at the world through like Sanctuary Moon, and, it's on the planet and it sees itself in a tree that being overgrown and stuff like that, and how it responds to that. But it's still a robot, so it still has to protect them. And we see as they're flying around, it protecting them. And then, of course, you have the creatures attack, and we find out they're making love. It's like the perfect scenario, as Arata says, which is really funny. And I love that they're attacked by another sentry bot or sec bot or whatever. And because the creature feels like it's being attacked and it's being put in the corner, it actually kills that sec bot, and it actually takes its sack of eggs and leaves. And I love the humor that you see in that segment, where you find out the creature creatures are like there to mate and stuff like that, because you listen to like the people react to what is happening. It's very funny. It's like how you would feel if you come into the contact of that type of thing. But other than that, it just really is the last portion. I'm assuming, because it says episode 7, I'm assuming 8, 9, and 10 will be one segment, but it really feels like this is like the last portion of this trilogy of episodes, where it starts out, you know, with one thing and then ends it with little baby and like that situation, and or you know how Murderbot thinks it's being chased by a group of individuals. It really feels like the culmination of those 3 episodes. So once again, I'm starting to feel like there's 3 whole segments of episodes which should be combined together to make, like, you know what I mean? Like, there should be 3 episode segments that should be one episode to kind of give it its hour-long length, and I don't think that's what they're doing here because they need 10 episodes. But, I mean, overall, it's a fun episode. It really is. It has some humorous moments. It has some great, moments between the characters. Once again, in the beginning, like, there's been a complaint about how these characters don't really have any dimension or any kind of skill when it comes to who they are and what they are. And the only one that really gets any kind of play is Garathan. But here, when we see Garathan and Mensa talk, there is some stuff there that is given, but once again, these characters aren't well realized. They're not well dimensioned when it comes to who they are and what they are. They just feel like kind of plotting plots in the story, and they have their moments which are funny and entertaining, but there's nothing more than that. So that's what there's like a surface level here. Is not really complex in its storytelling arcs, and I really feel like, a 130-page book, it could have been a movie. It really could have at this point. I know I keep talking and complaining about that, but at this point, it feels like there's just not enough material that Paul Weitz and Chris Weitz as writers have stored here for a 10-episode series. So you could either do it like a 3-episode series or 4-episode series or a 2-hour movie, but 10 episodes is just too much for this series. And I worry if they continue on with like the next books or whatever, I think it'll be a problem. So that's kind of where I land on this episode, which is Complementary Species. It's still a good episode. If I had to score it, I would give it like an 8 out of 10. That's kind of where I land, because once again, it's a good episode, but it just doesn't give us enough. There's not enough there. It's, the end is like, once again, a complete just kind of fade to black or cut to black and then credits, and it doesn't really have any logic or reason for that. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, that'll be my take on season 1, episode 7 of Murderbot, which is called Complementary Species. I can't pronounce that word for some reason. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, what do you think of this episode? What do you think of the overall dynamics? Do you think this is one of those things where they needed more time? Let me know why. Otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.